Alec, can I get the lights for me? Thank you. Right, so we were talking about trying to get out of northern 15th century art, northern European, and these explanations have really slowed the process down. But I think it's worth I'll do. I could spend the entire term on these things. What I do in my spare time. When I write about art, these are the things I write about. That's my art. That's a reflection of my art taking picture of the painting, just so you know. Right? So we're looking at Roger Vanderheim, who is working at the same time as John Van Eyck, and both of them are using oil painting toward the effect of really terrific interest in microscopic detail. And these details for Van Eyck added primarily to nuance and develop the meaning of the work, right? So we saw the tiles in the floor, the window up above. I presume there's carvings above the Capitol here. There are fresco paintings on the walls, and all sort of just add to the meaning one way or the other. So it's incredibly elaborate. For Roger Vanderheim, the details are sort of these things that are tucked into the background, and they seem to have less to do with the overall meaning, except to suggest that maybe even while this amazing, miraculous thing is happening, see George slaying a dragon, saving the maiden, like the world just kind of goes on. You know, it doesn't even notice it. Everyday life is just happening, and this sort of miracle that we're allowed to see is the sort of thing that maybe we might encounter if we've got out of it. But as you get back into the distance, and it's meant to be quite a ways away, even if the steps in space are not regular, we just see sort of people unconcerned with dragon stuff, you know, and life just goes on, which is, I think, part of the message, right? That life just goes on. Now, as I mentioned, Roger Vanderheim was fairly young when he painted this. He was sort of brand new on his own. He's freshly independent from his teacher, who he looked at online, Robert Campbell. He went on to have a really pretty spectacular career as the city painter for the city of Brussels, the official painter for the city of Brussels, which is where he ended up spending the rest of his career, right? He painted this, which is, again, we didn't look at this in practice. I think we stopped here, right? So these are lights up here, right? Where, if you remember, that one there is the size of the palm of your hand, right? So we have to imagine that this one panel, Jesus could probably hold in his hand, right? That's how big this is. It's in Madrid, and I've never seen it. Some of these things like bucket list, right? Because people go through art come and tell me they've seen this thing, and they've never seen anything as amazing as this in their lives, right? So massive image, where it doesn't focus on the details in the same way. This one gives us some sort of microscopic landscape details that give us that interesting sort of here. The background's nothing, right? It's just a box. It looks like almost like a sculpture that has been painted and set into a box. There's something very artificial about that, isn't it? This is the moment when Christ, after the crucifixion, but he's been he's being lowered into the arms of his followers. Okay? So they are now mourning his passing. And this all takes place in the outdoors. This takes place on the Mount of Calvary outside of Jerusalem. Right? And that's not what Roger Vanderheim did. What he did is this artificial box that looks like a little stone niche. And you can even see he's painted into the corners what appears to be bits of architectural decoration. Tracery, we call it. And up above, as well, around the guy that's helping the lower end down. So he's just pulled the nails off. The guy at the top still has the bloody nails in his hand. And he's helping the lower Christ down into the arms of his followers, which include some who might be recognizable. This was a woman who is Mary, right? The Virgin Mary. This is mom. And as you might imagine, as the mother of Christ, she's watched him now be tortured to death. And she is fainted dead away. Right? All the blood is drained out of her face. So you look at her face, some same color as the veil that wraps around her head and shoulders. She's gone. She's dead. Right? She's as dead as he is in a way. Right? This is St. John, who almost is always there at the crucifixion, and when she faints, he's the one that catches her. And we've seen him in other images with the crucifixion, or with what we call the lamentation, where their mourning is passing, when we look at a Giotto on mine. And we have around it other people who were there. Two other women named Mary, I always get them mixed up, Nicodemus, Joseph of Arimathea, who owned the tomb that Christ would be buried in, a servant back here. Please look at it. Any guesses? Very good job. Very good. Now we know. Right? We'll tell you other things. But she's being prostitute, right? And so this is subtle little ways. You look at how she's dressed versus the Virgin Mary. Now she's living a holy life now, but there are these signs that this is where she came from. Right? The red sleeves are part of that too. Right? And even I'm sorry to say, so is the red hair. So that was just a thing back in the 15th century. Now we know for a fact that this was painted for a militia group, another military group. We talked about the fact that the St. George's Dragon might have been made for a guild, a member of an archery company that had particular interest in St. George for their private devotion to the saint. This one is huge. It was made for a group just next door to Brussels. So Brussels is about 15 miles from Brussels to Lisbon. Right? Like here to Alexandria. Really, not much further than that. Right? And there was a group there, another military company, who specialized in crossbows. Yeah, crossbows, right? It's like a gun. It's like a big stick like that, and you pull it, and it shoots much further than a football needle. Right? And so there were two different guilds or groups of crossbowmen in Leuven, and this is made for the larger groups, the greater guilds of crossbowmen. And the reason we know this is not only from its heritage, where it came from, what we call in our history provenance, right? List of previous owners. But if you look closely at that architecture in the corner, you see a little crossbow hanging in the architectural decoration. So that is for them, and we know from later records that it was behind the altar. Right? So this is where the priest would perform the mass for the crossbow. Right? This was there by the chapel. And this is on behind it. And the crossbowmen of Leuven, right, were dedicated to the Virgin of Sorrow. So all of these groups had a particular patron saint. And archery guilds, sometimes St. George, sometimes you get St. Sebastian, shotgun arrows. This archery guild was dedicated to the Virgin of Sorrow, a particular aspect of the Virgin Mary. Not just the Virgin Mary in general, like Siena was, but the Virgin of Sorrow, the sad Virgin, which ties into a new way of focusing on her, which is on the 7 major times in her life where she suffers from watching her son suffer. The 7 sorrows of the Virgin. This is part of praying the rosary for those who are Catholic. Right? So the Virgin of Sorrows, and that's why she has such prominence here. Right? She's one of the biggest figures in the competition. Really, her and Jesus are the biggest thing, aren't they? And that's because she is a hidden. And you see here her eyes are rolling back in her head, tears on her cheeks. There are more than details from it. Right? These little droplets of tears that refract the light through. He's every bit as interested in light as John said, but he uses it in a different way. He wants us, the viewers, right, the crossbowmen, to focus on her sorrow. Because for them, that was their dedication, was to the sorrow of the Virgin. So she sets the tone for the entire composition. And what we have with the other cast of characters is different levels of sorrow, different ways of expressing sadness. And this brings us to why he put it in the box, because this is what he wants you to look at. He doesn't want to distract us by little background details. He's not trying to build a huge, theologically complicated picture with lots of nuances like that. He's using the details to show you ways of reacting. And each of them reacts slightly differently. So you can see all of them crying, red in their eyes. Look at one of this, right? The sense of having been crying. You know, I can't go out like this. People know I've been crying. And that's exactly the case. You can tell, even if you can't see the tears, that their eyes are red. And not all of them are as sad as the others. Some more so than the people next to them. But all of them with tears dripping off their nose, down their cheeks, as they are racked with suffering. As they watch this man they've been following for the last 3 years or more, having been tortured to death. I mean, we look at it that way, right? He wasn't just killed, he was tortured to death. And they watched it. There's a bit of stoicism with some of them, but always with a sense of sadness. Almost like a histamine or something like that. Just noses are all red as they're looking on with Christ. Choking it back, you know. These incredibly powerful faces in how he paints them, how he elaborates on that. And then other details have become used to, like the fur and how it's held together. And the veins, the skull on his chin, right? And it really is fantastic. Look how the light refracts on the eye, on the cornea, right, as it goes through the lens as well. So there's Mary Magdalene. I already made my joke about the there you go. But notice he's really interested in the details of costume, right? Pinning the whole thing together. It's cute down here in a way on her belt. It says Jesus and Mary. It's her and him, right? Jesus and this is her relationship. Right? And she's got some belt. It's not down in the Bible, but Jesus and Maria. We are together forever on her belt. And again, tears dripping off of her face, which I have in greater detail here. And coming down, it's like you're falling off the end of her nose as well. So Roger really wants us to look at the pain and suffering. And the point of putting it at a thought like this, one of the points, is that he wants us to focus on this. Not be distracted by background details, but use that ability to focus on the suffering of Christ's followers, because that's what the crossbowmen of Leuven wanted, right? This is the Virgin of Sorrows, is their main patron saint, right? And there she is in the foreground. I love how Rogers arranged the composition to put their hands right next to each other. Hers pale, soft, right? Porcelain-like. His battered with that ugly wound exploding right next to it from where they pulled the nails out. The skull with bone is there because Calvary is also called Golgotha, which means place of the skull. That's because it was a burial site, right? So that's there to remind us of that. But if we look more closely at her and Christ and think about the scene of the Virgin of Sorrows, have you noticed how similar the poses are? Have you noticed the degree to which, let's see if that's going to work or not, right? They're in the same pose, right? She is mirroring in her body exactly the pose he takes when he comes up, and because that's why she fainted. She is feeling in her heart all the pain that he felt in his body. And that's what we find in a lot of devotional manuals from the 15th century that tell us that the Virgin Mary felt every pain he felt, but she felt it in her heart. And Roger gives this sort of visual form that as he died, she fainted. Kind of like dying, right? Instead of away. And as he does so, her body just happens to fall into the same pose. Right. She has compassion for his passion. She is part of the scheme and becomes then the focus of the work. The other thing that's only recently been pointed out is that those poses, when you look at them, this only came up about 5 years ago. They look like little crossbows as well, which is really fascinating, right? The way the arms are and the body are, they look like crossbows. This is where the crossbowman's guild. So he's not only made their poses echo each other, echo's not the right word, that's a bad analogy, mirror is a better analogy, echoes sound, right? He made their poses mirror each other, but he did so in a way that would have had resonance for the crossbowman's guild, right? Yeah.
The shape of the box also.
The shape of the box?
Yeah, I mean, the box, I mean, it goes with the cup.
Right. Oh, I see, because of the top. Yeah. We see this shape in all of these somewhat regularly, and originally, I think, right, originally it had wings that folded over. Like this, and little ones up here as well. So it actually was a little bit even wider down below. But those are long, right? But that's what we think, because the other ones that have this exact same shape, they have wings right, that fold over the center. About the, well, and about theater productions, because the Crossbowmen of Leuven were in charge of protecting theater productions of this particular scene in Leuven. And so, anyway, that's the box has to do with that as well. But the shape right now is not reflective of what it would originally have looked like. So that becomes a bit more difficult. But it's a nice idea. I like it. Since Roger nailed it, right, with the sense of the emotional engagement that he's aiming for with this picture, it became one of the most popular pictures of the 15th century. By popular, I mean, it was copied, and copied, and copied, and copied. Whereas a lot of that tend not to be. Right? There's multiple versions of this that are not by Roger Bacon, by other artists. Something like 250 of them, different variations of that composition. And that's simply because he sort of pulled it all together just right. And the emotional engagement seems to appeal to people already in the 15th century. Up at the Walters, we have a sculptural group that's been polychromed. I think I might have to find the polychroming one. But obviously derived exactly from this, where this sculptor, this smallest of the right? Each of the pieces of that, and it's carved in wood, has obviously been looking at Roger Bacon and has just translated these figures into sculpture. This is one of, like I said, over 200 copies of Roger's composition that exists throughout the world. And yeah, I do. That's what it looks like in color. But I can only find one of the two in color. And it's never out on display when I go up there. Right? So with this, we're going to leave Northern Europe behind until we get to the 15th century. We'll go back and look at it. Right? So the way this class has been set up so far structure. We started off with 14th century art history. Looked at some developments of Giotto and Duccio that were getting us to a sense of new realism. Right? And then we moved up north through the International Gothic style, where we saw that realism just explode right into this kind of detailed realism that we're seeing here in the 15th century. We're going to go back to what happened in England during that same time. How did the International Gothic style, how did that Giotto Duccio framework develop in Italian pictures from the same time as this? And what we're going to see is it's not exactly the same. In fact, it's quite different. So, we were looking at International Gothic. Up north, we tend to call that late Gothic because Renaissance doesn't really work. There's no interest in ancient Rome, right, which is one of the hallmarks of the Renaissance. So, historians are sort of a loss for what we call it. And late Gothic works as good as anything, but I'm not worried about terms like that. The International Gothic continued into the 16th century in Italy. So we talked about International Gothic being these sort of delicate, elegant figures based on Duccio and Simone Martini. We talked about bright, sumptuous colors coming out of Duccio via Simone Martini. We talked about sort of lyricism and interest in fabrics, patterns, fabric, gold backgrounds. These are all elements that we saw develop with Duccio, transfer with Simone Martini. If we get into the 15th century, we start to see that the International Gothic is still there. Look at those fabrics. Now, this is the adoration of the Magi. This is where the three wise men, the three kings, have followed the star, come from all over the world to worship Christ, right? On the sixth day. The Feast of the Magi. And so they come from wherever, and they're working their way down, and there's the lower left corner. There's the Virgin Mary with Christ, the old king kneeling in front of him. Behind him, two more kings until by the crown. slightly younger. You'll notice that each one is in a progressive phase of kneeling, and from kneeling comes down, right? And they're also 3 different ages: old, adult, and young. This is to represent everybody, right? All of the world. Sorry, right? And we have behind the Virgin Mary. Well, who is that behind the Virgin Mary? Joseph, right? We thought it was the Duccio who was the city of death. And the Duccio in Page tells us that those people that behind the Virgin Mary. The midwives, right? Remember we saw them before bathing time? Well, now they're taking the gifts from the midwife, put them away somewhere, right? So they're up and out. Yeah. So what? No, we take it off his fur, which is really cool because the same sort of details that we saw with Northern are here, but in a kind of different way, right? They're not getting oil paint yet. That's one thing. They're still using temporary things, and there's still a lot more international doctrine going on, right? But there still are some really interesting details of everyday life. So the main tribe, the 3 kings, would definitely have had servants, and the servants are there with them. So one is holding his sword directly behind him, right? Just here, and the horse. The other one is leaning down to take his spurs off because he's got off the horse. So I need his spurs, right? It's a nice little detail of everyday life, but it doesn't look like he's going to, right? But he's never be wrong because at this point he shouldn't guide anybody but Jesus, right? That's the point, okay? So the guy in the front still has a gold saffron. It's picked up quite a bit, so you don't see the gold saffron so much, but it's there. It's the very, very top, right? And this landscape that we see sort of tips up through 7/8 or 9/10 of the composition. So the sky is just that tiny little band at the top, right? Here, I should have had this up here before, right? Nice comparison, because there we've got pretty much the same thing, but just without the magi. Notice how similar the people of the rocks are. They have that sort of, Mike Cyclocephalus, there's another guy called cheese cut. It looks like a big piece of parmesan that he hacked into, and it sort of ends up crumbling off to the side. So if you look at the edges of rocks around here, and here we get sort of a similar effect, right? The gold in the background, the crowding, the color, the patterns, all of these things have translated over the course of 100 years. This is also from the Maya altar, so I wanted to compare apples to apples, right? So here's Duccio, and it's not in the National Gallery, sorry, forget that, right? This is in the Met in New York. But there's very much the same thing, 3 magi, one staring down. You notice he's kissing his foot. He's kissing Jesus' foot, right? And that we see all the time, and I think could come from a very particular devotional manual that describes the event. But I also like the idea that he's putting the body of Christ in his mouth. And you don't think anybody either. But what are you doing now? You take the body of Christ to your mouth. Right? And this is an altar piece. That's an altar piece. They're meant to be seen in conjunction with that activity. So the idea that he's not eating Jesus, it's not like his origin, this is not, World War Z or whatever, right? Day of the Dead. Right? He's being blessed for this, right? And he's kissing his foot. But the analogy is there. You too will take Christ to your mouth, right? And be blessed for doing so. So they're role models for us. Great details. So Giuseppe Fabriano has elaborated on. So if you look at Duccio, you see behind them they have their servants with their horses. They have a couple of camels that they come from far off land. Right? Land that have camels. Needless to say, Duccio is better with horses than camels. Probably seen a few more in his lifetime, right, along the way. But what I like is if you look at the horses in Duccio's work, you can see that they don't like it. You see that? The way they're glowering at each other. And you see that here as well. Look at the right corner of the Fabriano. Right? We also see the horses are having a tough time getting along. People are having to hold them back, and they're having a bit of a difficulty with that. That's because the magi came from different countries by legend. Right? The 3 kings were kings of different countries. And it was only when they saw Christ that they too found peace. So the horses remain a symbol of the discord, the disharmony, right? The conflict that Christ came to help solve. In both, so a lot of things are very traditional in this program that we can be traced back. We also have exotic animals here, which is in detail, first pointed out, but you can maybe, as you look more closely, see monkeys and cheetahs are there, even if I think the thing the camel could be found in here. But again, it's not good at those is of course because it's not seen nearly as many. So let's look at some details, right? So here we are over here. There's our crazy horses, and they pumping noses and flaring their nostrils. And people are like, get out of the way. And there's a couple of cheetahs here, right? Birds are even fighting, right? The whole world is in disharmony because Christ's peace has not yet come to the earth. But this is the entourage of the Magi working their way back into the distance. We think this might be the guy who paid for it. His name was Sophie. Again, this particular one might be important, but there's really no way to prove that. There's some of our exotic animals, our monkeys riding on the backs of camels, right? In the background, and again, more birds swooping down. I love how the people are always watching them as they're coming in. I guess either they don't want to get poop on their heads, right? Or they're marveling at how nature is reacting to this particular event. Again, the interest in elegance, which comes out of the International Gothic style we see in the Holy Family, the Virgin with Joseph, Jesus, and the handmaids in the background. But also, as you can see with this, begin to see with this detail, the interest in embroideries and in costumes. That all comes out of earlier Italian pictures. So this is still an International Gothic picture in the early part of the 15th century. It's not the only kind of painting that's going on at that point, but we're going to see that as Italy develops out of it, right, just as we saw the North develop out of this, they develop out in a different direction than what we saw in Northern European art. So again, great details with the donkey and the ox, the three magi, each with an incredibly beautiful brocading. This would have been very, very appealing to the owner, Paolo Strozzi, who was a painter. And he painted this work to be put in his private chapel in one of the churches, the first side chapel in the church of Louisiana, where they would be buried underneath the floor. And he was, at the point in 1420, he was the richest man in the city of Rome, the single wealthiest man. This is before the rise of the Medici. Right? The single wealthiest man in all of Rome. And in fact, it was driven out by the Medici, and they appropriated this painting to their collection. But Paolo Strozzi, that's why we call it the Strozzi Altarpiece, was the original owner of the work. He's the one who paid for it. And as a wealthy banker, you can see one of the things that he probably told John Tierney is he wants to get his money for it. It's a very rich-looking picture, full of gold, full of colors, full of patterns. Right? Danielle? Florence. Right? We haven't seen a Venetian picture yet, and we won't for a bit. Right? It'll be a bit longer before we see anything from Venice. Remember that Florence was one of our two major centers of the Renaissance, the other being Siena. Right? Rome is not a big center yet either. And he was really big as Venice, for that matter, in the early part of the 15th century. So we're not going to focus exclusively on Florence. There's 5th and 15th century. Florence has become sort of the most important economic center anywhere in Italy. Right? Under the loaf in the back, you see the story of the three magi spelled out. Right? So here they see the star for the first time. They gather together. So there's the three magi up on the hilltop. And they're going to make their way through the landscape. So we see them again and again as they work their way toward Christ. We have to imagine that this big, long landscape sweeping its way around and coming this way. And within that landscape, we see them more than once, which again is a sort of a shorthand for Renaissance pictures. They do that a lot to tell the story. Right, so there the three magi are. They're seeing the star. They're about to embark on their journey Their horses are here still surviving each other. Right? They're going to work their way through the city gates and work their way this way. Outside the city gates, we have crime. There's a mugging. Right? And you can see that hand on his face, he's stealing it. I'm going to kill him. And again, everything in the landscape suggests the chaos, the disharmony that Christ is coming to help cure. Right? The Prince of Peace. Center panel, we see the entire entourage. Again, the horses are not having a great time with this. There's our three magi now. They've heard the message. They're following the stars. They pick up halos. They're working their way through the landscape. I love the cheetahs riding on the back of a horse. Poor horse, right? But how's that cheetah holding on? Right? And I love this one here. It's very little detail, right? This is happy all over. This guy's seeing the deer in the woods. And it's again, right, spurs up as they work their way through. I didn't bring the turbo. So basically, you get the idea, right? Very unnatural stuff. Busy, it's crowded, it's colorful, it's pattern, all of this unnatural background as well, right? There's something more decorative than realistic. Although it does have those elements of realism, right? Now, while this is being painted, we see a new style of art creeping into Italian pictures. And that's represented by Masaccio. Right? We'll get back to work in the next one, but this early Italian Renaissance is not their strongest suit for early 15th century. This is the same city. He's also painting in Florence. It's a bit of a difference in that this is a fresco. We've talked about frescoes before, right? Or water-based paint into wet plaster, drying as part of the wall, versus tempera paint on a wooden panel. So this fresco scene begins to break from International Gothic style. In fact, it would be hard-pressed to say that these were done within a few years of each other. Because really, in a lot of ways, they look incredibly different. Notice how the landscape doesn't tip up and fill up the background. The landscape looks like it's the same plane, the same flatness as the Ford standing. But it's the same as your Ford. Well, it's back into space rather than going up into space. Right? Up into the background. The figures are based within that landscape in a way that looks as if they do get smaller as they get further from us. So that the figures in the foreground, the guy in the red miniskirt, right, is the biggest figure by far. Not by far, but by just enough. And the fellow standing directly behind him is kind of right here. It's just a little bit smaller. And their heads are roughly on the same level, but the feet get smaller as they move their way back to the space. Here, however, the figures on the ground on the right hand side are not significantly smaller than the foreground. That adds to that slight artificiality. So, Italian pictures in the 15th century are going to break away from the International Gothic style, but they're going to move in a direction that's from this. It's about unification. It's about finding an ideal harmony versus the Northerners who look for tiny little details. Right? This is still detail, but nothing like that. And the other way in which they're breaking with the International Gothic style is the figure types. And this is maybe the biggest difference from Northern Europe. Look at the body in the Masaccio compared to the bodies in John Keats. You'll notice that he's abandoning those lofty lyrical outlines, and he's abandoning those beautiful patterned fabrics. And instead, the figures are big and bulky, three-dimensional. They look like sculptures. They exist in space. They cast shadows. Hey, big difference then, right? John Keats do not. There may be dark areas behind them, but there's no sense of light fall. These guys cast a bunch of shadows off to your left. They have a presence. They have a solidity. Right? And that's one of the new elements of 15th century art, picking up kind of what Giotto has started. Right? In particular, they're looking back at Roman soldiers. And this is a huge difference between Italian art and Northern European. This is why we call Italian art Renaissance. Renaissance means rebirth. And looking back at ancient Roman art. And they're revising it in their own words. So here we see the body of this fellow on the right is basically derived from looking at quite a few ancient statues, like the famous Augustus and the Porta. He's moved his arms around a bit, but if you look at the positioning of the legs, look at the musculature of the legs, you can see the degree to which Masaccio is building these forms from a knowledge of ancient Roman art. That's clear? The pose is special because the pose is based on one leg being fixed, like locked, flexed, and the other leg being relaxed. And that gives the figure a sense of poise and relaxation. It's approaching a little better than others, right? Doing this, we do that often. And they had a word for this in Italy. I don't know if I've got to come in. Oh, okay, it's going to come in a second. It goes all the way back to ancient Greece. This is where they learned it. This is where the Romans learned it. This is the Roman copy of the Greek sculpture, right? And so it's really worth you see the same pose in each one of them, right? And the word that the Italians used for this was contrapposto. It's a double P, right? Contrapposto. And the term refers to this idea of being counterpoised. That's what I remember. Contrapposto, counterpoised. One part of the body is flexed, the other part of the body is relaxed. And that gives the figure a sense that at one level it's at rest. But on the other level, it's able to do anything. It's full of potential energy. Right? Not energy being used, but energy in reserve. Right? So our Greek statue, our Roman statue, basically the same. Flexed leg, flexed arm, relaxed arm. Counterpoint. And they're never on the same side, right? Flex, flex, relax, relax. Right? Ditto here. Counterpoint. The body turns this way, the head turns that way. Right? You see that? The torso is ever so slightly like this, and the head the other way around. Not just sort of picking up on that. Right? And understanding the human form based on these earlier examples. So, when we look at Italian pictures, we really talk about Renaissance. And almost like the second phase of what we're talking about rebirth. The Giotto show. They looked back at ancient Roman art, and they saw realism, and they just went for the sort of realistic. That was it. Right? So it's the Masaccio, and in the 15th century, they're still doing that, but they're starting to pick up the body type. The perfect, ideal, athletic body type. Yeah, the anatomy is because he was part of this, right? And will increase through the course of the 16th century. Now, anatomy lessons were still somewhat difficult to do. They were not as clandestine as you see sometimes, right? They didn't have to sneak around, steal bodies from the grave or anything like that. But they had to be careful when they told them. Right? But yeah, there's studies in anatomy, but as a lead up to that, and we still do this in our classes, a lead up to that is studying sculpture. Because you don't really need to do it in anatomical studies. You have one of those. Right? One of these statues. And these were being excavated. They could certainly find them, these Roman ruins, anywhere in Italy. Right? This is their great heritage. This is part of the reason we don't talk about Van as being gravity on. Because it's not wrong. It has nothing to do with wrong. Right? It's not his heritage. He's trying to, national heritage. He's trying to use. Whereas in Masaccio, yeah. It's nationalism. It's us. This is our great heritage. Let's bring it back again. Right? That analogy, they Italy created it. Right? So anyway, you get the idea. Right? And with this idea that it's based on sculpture, you'll notice that this is the same character turned flat. And it's the same pose seen from opposite sides. more or less, right? It's still that contrapuntal you see from the front, you see from the back. It's like Masaccio is saying, I can make sculpture out of paint. And that goes back to the fact that this word under paragone was a term that the Italians during this period used. Right in the century, Masaccio used this term to describe a sort of friendly rivalry between painters and sculptors, which was that between painter and the sculptor. And Masaccio is suggesting that you paint just any sculptor. Right? He can render figures in the third dimension. Front and back, multiple views. And that's exactly the argument that sculptors use to say that sculpture is better. You can paint all you want, but I can show the figure in 3 dimensions. Right? The painter said, yeah, but you know what? I can do landscape. Right? That was sort of the argument. So, I just wanted to God who modeled that. And they say, yeah, well, I'm not dirty at the end of the day. This is sort of spending a little back and forth, paragone. And Masaccio suggested that he paints like a sculptor. Right? He paints sculpture. Okay? So this is one of his great ways out of international Gothic stuff is to move toward constantly revising ancient Roman sculpture and trying to paint as if he were painting real 3-dimensional objects, allowing us to see them from multiple sides. The other great thing that Masaccio does, and others in Italy that Dionysius does, is he uses perspective. 1-point or linear perspective. And this is the idea that when you stand in a landscape and look towards the horizon, that any parallel line will converge at a single point. So you guys out there looking this way, you look at the walls, right? And they get smaller as they get closer to me. Right? Or if I'm looking back at you, right? Same issue. The walls get closer. And if I were to trace it out on a 2-dimensional surface, right, then the lines of the wall, put your arms up with it, right? You can see, okay? Kind of do that to get them to line up with how I'm seeing it. 1-point perception. And the issue is that I don't have any pairs. I can't draw anymore. They've all disappeared. So I won't draw them more. But what you have is a vanishing point. This is where the parallel lines converge. Like standing in a highway in Utah, right? And looking toward the distance, it will look like a distant point. The vanishing point is where those parallel lines converge in perspective. Sorry? It is very, and he's using it. Yeah, we'll see that in just a second. Right? This is linear perspective, and this is the schema. It was invented around 1915, 1920. The first person who ever came up with it was an architect named Brunelleschi. Brunelleschi, right? Filippo Brunelleschi. He invented it so he could make better drawings of his buildings to show to potential customers, right? Or be more accurate. So he came up with linear perspective. It didn't really exist like that. As people intuited it, but they didn't come up with a mathematical system for it. Right? But that was the big thing, the mathematics. It was then published with his full permission, right? In 1435 by Leone Battista Alberti. And that's when people started really thinking about it. But Masaccio knows Brunelleschi, working in the same time, part of the same guild system. He knows it early on, right? Just so you know the terminology, the lines that converge, the lines in the parallel converge at the vanishing point are called orthogonals. And this is a scheme for rendering things, right? And Brunelleschi tells us to use a horizon line that's the same height as the tallest figure, so that's why we got the guy over there. Right? And I did this with PowerPoint. Right? So any parallel line on that, all of the ones that are parallel will converge at that vanishing point, right? And here, so you get the idea, right? Sorry about that, right? So you can see that those sides, if you were to trace them back to the dotted line, would all converge. This just took a little bit of time with PowerPoint to translate that, right? So you get the idea, right? That's what Masaccio is using, right? So we come back to Masaccio, right? Bring it forward here. Look at the building on the right. See all those parallel lines, right? This line was parallel to this one, was parallel to the front. Those are all parallel lines if the building is built properly. Then let's assume it is, right? The stuff behind, the tops of these doors, that E back there, that's all different levels of the same sort of kind of parallel line in front of that building, okay? And lo and behold, if we trace them through, right, they do converge. And interestingly enough, Masaccio chose as the vanishing point B. Because what happens with your eye when you look at things in perspective is that we tend to find the vanishing point. So probably, you know, but we do it, right? We knew that we did this. And they converge right at the face of project. Right? So he uses the perspective to focus us. Right? To focus our attention. Well, this is different though, because this is an organic line, right? Lines in nature don't follow this. Man-made things do, right? So you've got to be careful of lines in nature because they don't follow. I just wanted to show you one last thing. You might think that okay, that's as realistic as it is, right? It looks like it should work as well. But he didn't use one-point perspective. This was not an issue for him. So sometimes he applied it, so all of the lines on the left-hand side, that's the wall and left, seem to pose, and the veg foot falls outside the picture, that's okay, right? And now you would think that the floor, which was, right, the floor is probably going to be parallel to that wall, right? They should do it too, but you already tell that they don't, right? The floor tiles, right, converge in a very different place. So he is intuiting, he's figuring out that there's got to be something out there, but he hasn't come down to that mathematical perspective yet. Okay? So when we look at this document, two things will occur. One, reviving ancient Rome is huge, right? As a way out of the international Gothic, not that he's thinking about that, right? But he's moving with the international Gothic by applying Roman sculptural principles, the ideal body form, and the poses that he finds in ancient Roman art. And secondly, by applying one-point perspective. Right? These are great innovations at this point. And the thing, both of them separate Italian art from Northern art. Neither of them are being done. We'll pick up with the 19th century on Thursday. Sorry, I kept you 3 minutes late. Right, and